This is my very first grocery haul in over a month, and even though I do not like to meal plan at all, I had a lot of things to think about as I was planning out this trip. If you're new here, my name is Amy Cross, and this is the Cross Legacy where I teach you how to save money on groceries. Our grocery budget is $135 per person per month for our family, and currently there's only two adults living here, my husband and myself. So $270 is my grocery budget, and that money goes into a grocery account where I'm able to buy all the groceries that we need from that account. I am going to show you everything I bought and how I planned out these ingredients to use. And at the very end of the video, I'll show you how much I spent. But before we get started, I'm kind of curious to see how often you are going to the grocery store. Are you going every couple days, once a week, every couple weeks, or once a month? The last time I went grocery shopping was on February 7th. It was the day before the Super Bowl. And I went grocery shopping actually last night and then just put everything in the fridge over the evening. And then I'm going to end up washing it after this video. But we did that because there was a really bad windstorm and I didn't want to be halfway through washing or filming and the power go out. So this is actually getting filmed on March 12th, but it will go up on the channel on March 17th, which is St. Patrick's Day, so I had to wear a bright green shirt. And even though I tried to keep the grocery budget really close to that $270 mark, we also have a large party happening at our house this weekend. So it is the first time we are going to have friends and family over in a large group at our house. There's going to be about 30 people here. I am hosting the event at my house, and I'm providing a couple of the dishes, but I'm not the main hostess for this. So since I was trying to work it into the budget that way, I decided not to add to a party budget and just try to work it into my grocery budget. We will have about 30 people here on Saturday. And then also during the entire weekend, our best friends are coming to spend the weekend. So we'll have 2 extra guests for 3 days. And then right as they leave, then one of our team members is coming into town for 3 days after that. So there is a lot of things that I was kind of thinking about how I was going to work it out. And I decided not to add anything to the grocery budget and just make it work. And we can't forget about Easter. That is actually going to happen in this 4-week cycle also. So normally I don't meal plan very much, but I was definitely thinking about the meals that I would need while the extra guests were in town, what their special dietary needs were, and then also having options for Easter. We have been so busy thinking about the party this weekend, we haven't really decided the official plan for Easter, if everybody's coming over after church or if it's going to be a later dinner thing. We will still get to all see each other for church. But I needed to have options that I could feed the entire family either in the morning as brunch or later in the evening. So all of these things have kind of been playing in the back of my mind as I was making my grocery list to go shopping. And remember, I go for ingredients, not necessarily for a meal plan. I really do not like following a specific meal plan that I'm really locked into. I like to be able to have a lot of flexibility depending on how I'm feeling that day. So now where we live in our new house, we're actually about 45 minutes away from the nearest Costco, which is a big change from our old house that we could literally see Costco out of our front window, and all the grocery stores we needed to go to were within 3 stoplights or about a half a mile of our house. So now that we have to plan a bigger day and run all of our errands in that same day, it ends up being a much longer day. And then the windstorm on top of it last night was making it a little bit more difficult. We were literally, both of us, holding onto the shopping cart when we went out to the parking lot because it was trying to blow away. Normally my first stop going grocery shopping is at Costco, but since the way the errands were taking us as we were looking for a birthday gift for the party this weekend, we ended up going to WinCo first. And WinCo is an employee-owned grocery store here in Washington. I think it's pretty similar to the prices that you would get at Aldi if you're in other parts of the country. We don't have Aldi here, so I get kind of jealous when I see some of your guys' hauls. I feel like when I went grocery shopping, I was in a very green St. Patrick's mood, and a lot of the items that I got were green, including these 2 heads of lettuce. One of them we're going to use for the party, and the other one's going to get washed and stored in glass, and it will stay fresh the entire month. I also got a big bag of spinach. I'm probably going to end up washing this and then putting most of it into the freezer because I don't need it for fresh eating because I got this also. I got this large tub of spring mix salad. So we had been getting a lot of questions about this and I have never filmed a video on spring mix. So I really wanted to make sure that I was able to get a video out. So I'm going to keep this closed for a few days and then film the video on Monday. And that's just a really great tip if you are buying this kind of salad. I still wash it because it still gets recalled all of the time for listeria. And if you're washing the items the way I teach you, it will remove the listeria. But as it's sealed in here unopened, it will stay fresh for a few days. So if you're too tired after going to the grocery store or you're running out of time, it's a great one that you can wait a day or two and then wash. And speaking of green, I also got some basil. This is a huge plant. It was only $3 at WinCo, and it has a plastic container and not a moss container. Those moss containers can get moldy, so I normally move it into a different container if it is. But I will be able to keep this fresh for the next couple months until I have basil growing in my garden. I just make sure that I keep the roots wet and I keep trimming it down. I was really excited to see that the price of peppers is starting to go down again. They were the highest that they'll be all year last month, and now they're starting to go back down up until fall when you can really get them at the lowest price. So last fall, I was able to get a bunch and put them in the freezer. So the fresh peppers we have right now, those will be for fresh eating items, and that way we can add it to salads and it'll be a veggie tray this weekend. This is the very sad cilantro that I got last night. I am going to wash this and then trim the ends and put it in filtered water, and it will perk right back up and it will stay fresh for about 6 weeks. This is my cilantro that's left over from last month's grocery shopping trip. So you can see it's still perfectly healthy. About every 10 days, I'll chop a 1/4 inch off of the ends of it, and then that way it continues to suck up water and it stays alive. So really sad ones that are dehydrated from last night and month-old ones. I also got a bag of lemons. Mike drinks lemon tea every single morning, so he normally uses half a lemon, and then I have them available for cooking. So I made sure to get these and some avocados. And I picked up some avocados. I can store these in the same drawer as the lemons, and then they will stay fresh for a month. I also got 1 red onion. I was thinking about making some guacamole, so that sounded really good. I got some fresh ginger. I make my own teriyaki sauce, so I like to have fresh ginger in the freezer, and then I can just shred it from frozen. I also got that 6-pound bag of carrots that I always get every time I go grocery shopping. I got 2 heads of celery, some cucumbers. I'm going to put those all in a veggie tray for the party this weekend, and then we can still use the extras and make some avocado ranch dip. I grabbed another bag of those zucchini and squashes. I like to be able to add those into meals. I'm sneaking in some vegetables. My family just thinks it's onions and they don't worry about it. It also really helps to stretch out the meat budget. I also picked up some asparagus. This is kind of getting a little bit large compared to what I like. I like when they're really tiny and tender, but this is about as large as I will buy them. But when I wash these and then trim the ends and store them in the filtered water, just like I do with the cilantro and parsley, these will stay fresh for about a month. So oftentimes these are one of the last vegetables I eat before we go on the next grocery shopping haul. Most likely we will use some of that asparagus up with bacon and eggs. It's one of our favorite ways to eat asparagus. And then also in the springtime, I have a white wine reduction sauce that I like to make. It's just springy and fresh. So if we end up with an extra bottle of opened wine, I'm not bringing the wine, but I will be happy to use it for cooking if there's any left over. I did get the Costco size package of grapes. I was planning on buying berries. They were not the same quality of the berries that were available in February. So we're really back to those winter berries that you can find most the other winter months, and then I can't wait until we start getting into local berry season later in the spring. So that's kind of one of my biggest produce tips, is just because something is available in the store doesn't mean it's the right time to buy it. A good example of that is also with potatoes. I didn't buy any potatoes because I bought a 50-pound bag earlier in the fall that I'm still using up. And it's March now, actually St. Patrick's Day, when they like to start being planted in the ground. So russets and Yukons are naturally going to start eyeing right now, because no matter when you got them from the grocery store, they were harvested harvested last late summer or early fall. These go into cold storage for the rest of the year and then they package them. So even though the package date might say that it's only a week or two prior, it's been in cold storage for 6 to 9 months. So if you are needing potatoes this time of year, get the little round ones. They normally are white and red in color with a thin skin. Those are spring potatoes, and those are the ones that you should be eating at this time of year. I did get a large bag of frozen broccoli. Mike doesn't like broccoli, and so I normally only have broccoli when the kiddos are over because all of us other ones do like broccoli. So I like to have it in my freezer, and I honestly rarely buy fresh broccoli anymore. I like that the Costco bags come in a great big bag, but inside the bag are individual bags that are dinner sized portions. So that way you don't get freezer burn on the items inside the bag after you open it up. Okay, for things that are in the dairy case, cheese, eggs related, I ended up getting a 5-pound block of Tillamook cheese. I had done this way back, I think it was in October, and then I divided it up and put it into the freezer. We have used all of that up now, and I'm realizing it's not always available at the store. So I made sure to grab that, even though it's probably going to get divided up and put into the freezer. And then I got the 2-pound block of the Kerrygold cheese that we have really been enjoying. I also ended up getting a larger block of Gouda cheese. That's going to go on a cheese and meat tray for the party this weekend. And then any that's left over of that, I'm going to end up vacuum sealing and then putting it back into the refrigerator. And that's going to stay fresh for many months. Getting this larger block of cheese was actually a much better deal than the smaller blocks that they had at WinCo. I used to love that they had those in cuts at WinCo, and they were around $2, and now they're like $4. So that price had doubled, but getting it at Costco was a good deal, and I could justify the price. We still have some unopened crackers that were left over that people brought for my birthday weekend in January, so we are going to use that for the tray. And then I have some dried nuts and dried fruit that we will add, so I'll be able to make a nice little spread without it costing very much. And with that, we'll just talk about it here because I'm talking about the cheese board. But I did get a meat stick, a summer sausage stick when we were at WinCo. It's kind of our favorite one, and I like to have one on hand. Mike makes homemade Lunchables sometimes after a meeting when he's in a hurry, and so he likes to have those at lunchtime. So this was a great thing that we know that we'll use up if we don't use it all for the party. And I do have to say, I normally put out smaller quantities during the party and just kind of restock it. One, I am an introvert, and that gives me an excuse to go hang out in the kitchen for a few minutes and kind of take a social break when I need to. But also, I don't like reusing food that people have had sitting out or touching. So if I can just put out limited quantities at a time, then I know that we can repurpose the leftovers. I did pick up a cottage cheese. This is again one of those items I really wish Costco would have organic, but they don't, and it's just something that we buy every single time. Normally, we also get Greek yogurt when we go on our monthly grocery shopping trip, but we actually had quite a bit left over from the last time, so I made sure that it's stored in glass jars. So it has a best by date that goes 2 more weeks from now, and then putting it in the glass jars when we had opened it up, that will extend it out 2 weeks past that date. So we should be right around that month mark when we go grocery shopping again in April. For the last 2 years, we have only been getting milk every other time we go grocery shopping. We get the A2 organic milk, and it comes in 4 cartons in a large box. And so that is what we have been doing, but we actually ran out of milk this last time. So it had been like 34 days since we went to the grocery store. Luckily, I remembered we had some shelf-stable milk, so we could still add some to our coffee, and everything was okay for the last couple days, but I didn't like running out of milk. So I did a couple of things. I made sure to grab the milk that we normally do, and then Mike wanted to add a half and a half, which I was fine. I'd rather have him have half and half than wanting an artificial creamer. I totally forgot to talk about the coffee. This is the coffee that we get. We normally get this every 3 or 4 months, so this was also included in our grocery budget at Costco. And then I did get a 6 package of oat milk. This has a best by date of January 2027, so I just need to make sure that I'm using it up over the next year because that best by date actually kind of expires 3 months after that. So right around next March. I want to make sure that this is all used up. And we do have lots of people that are coming into the house that are dairy free. So this is nice to have on hand when I'm making recipes for them that I would normally add dairy into. So that wasn't necessarily something I needed, just something that I added to my pantry to make sure that we have food security in our house and we don't have to run to the grocery store if we're low on an ingredient. And I used to keep almond milk on the shelf, but I've kind of became a little bit more sensitive to almonds the last couple of years. I can't use almond flour anymore for sure. I have learned that. And so I switched over to the oat milk whenever I'm trying to get the shelf stable milk. I also grabbed 4 dozen eggs this time. It seems like every other time I will grab 4 dozen instead of just 2 dozen. And I knew with this grocery shopping cycle going all the way through Easter, we definitely would be making some hard-boiled eggs. And speaking of hard-boiled eggs, if you're trying to dye your eggs without artificial coloring, we have a great blog post for that, teaching you all of our tricks. I actually have quite a bit of meat still in the freezer. This again shows how this grocery budget of $135 that I've been doing for decades now ends up helping us have food security in our house. So every 2 years or so, we will get a large meat purchase and it's used with that same $135 grocery budget. I have a bunch of videos on buying meat in bulk. If you have any questions, please let me know and I can send you the link. Over the last couple of months, I've been trying to buy one item that was around $20 to $30 to be able to show you how I would use that, stretch it out, make it into mini meals. So we've done some different things with ground beef, also with some pork loin and some bacon last month. And this month I was debating about whole chickens. So I normally try to bring in about 80% of the groceries that I'm bringing into my house. I'm trying to make sure that they are organic or the best quality that fits into the budget. And definitely because we have some allergies, I want to make sure that they're allergy friendly for our family. But just as they say that a fed baby is best when a mom is worrying about stopping breastfeeding or formula, a fed family is also best. So please don't stress if you can't always buy organic or if it's not even a priority right now with grocery prices as they are. I try to do about 80% organic for the things that I'm bringing in, and then the rest of it, I give myself a little grace. And that really came into play with these whole chickens that I was buying. The 2 organic whole chickens at Costco was $32, and that's just absolutely ridiculous. Honestly, I am not ashamed to grab a rotisserie chicken occasionally if we needed to, especially when Costco was across the street from our house. And the regular chicken was only $12 for 2 chickens. I know I can get at least 2 dinners out of each one of those chickens and then also make chicken stock from it. So it just seemed really crazy to me to spend more than double to get organic. And sometimes I just have to think it's better than takeout. I also got some wild caught shrimp. This is something that we only buy in the spring and summertime. We seem to make coconut shrimp a lot during the spring and summer and also shrimp tacos. This is kind of one that we normally do outside also. So if the weather isn't nice, it gives us a little bit of flexibility. We might do this on Easter. If not, we will hold off and do it for Mother's Day. I have all the other ingredients I need to make this already in the pantry, and I have some coconut oil that I need to use up. I actually have 2 jars of coconut oil, one that I use to remove my eye makeup, and that just stays in the bathroom. And then I have another one that I would like to kind of cycle through. That is a high smoke point oil, so you can use it for frying things. And in my grocery meal planner, whenever I go to open something that is from the pantry and it's the last one, I will write it down on my no backups list. I did have avocado oil here on my list, but decided I didn't want to do it this grocery shopping trip. But I know that I have about 2 to 3 months until I need to buy it. So it's a great way to know that it's there if I need to buy it and be able to wait for it to be on sale. I also got a bag of chicken strips. I haven't got a bag in quite a few months. So we were out of those, and we definitely like to have chicken strips on top of our salads and on chicken Caesar salad wraps. And so that was a great way to use up any of the Caesar salad that we might have from the party. and the dressing. One of the things in the pantry area that I picked up was some Caesar salad dressing. I made sure to get the one that was on the shelf and not the one that's in the refrigerator section. I do have some Caesar salad dressing in the refrigerator right now, and this was just in case I needed a backup. And if I don't open that up and I keep it closed in the pantry, it is good 18 months past that best by date. So I try to only have one type of commercially bought salad dressing in the refrigerator at times, and then I make a lot of our own homemade dressing. And I did get a small bag of croutons, again thinking for that Caesar salad for the party, and then we can use any for leftovers. And I do have some Parmesan cheese in the refrigerator that I haven't even opened yet that I bought before the holidays. So it was really easy just to buy these ingredients that I can continue using instead of paying that same amount for just the one-time use bag at Costco. And with people coming into town and having to drive 4 hours to get here, I never know if they're going to stop and have dinner on the way or if they're going to show up here hungry. So having some easy things like that on hand that you can just whip up when somebody walks in the door is really handy. Barbecue sauce was also one of those items on that I don't have any backups for this in the pantry. So we write that down as we are opening it, not as it's getting empty, and I'm able to watch for it to go on sale. So instead of it being closer to $5, I was able to get 2 bottles and they were only $2.88 a piece. And kind of thinking about barbecue season, I got a larger can of barbecue baked beans, and that will be for when the entire family's over and we're having a family meal, normally on the weekends. And then I got a smaller can for a night that's just Mike and I. One of my kiddos used to use this glass dish all the time, cup, whatever you want to call it, dessert bowl, but they use this to eat black olives out of all of the time. So when I was unpacking the things for the china cabinet, I came across this. So I made sure to get a can of black olives to surprise them the next time they're over. My kiddo likes them so much, can eat an entire can in one day. Black olives is one of those things that I absolutely hate and will not eat. And while I was over that way, I saw some water chestnuts at the grocery store, which made me think about lettuce wraps. And so I ended up grabbing a can of water chestnuts. I know we don't have any in the pantry, so sometime later this spring or summer, we will make some lettuce wraps. And these little tiny pasta shells also caught my eye. I thought those would be really fun to make some pumpkin mac and cheese with to feed someone special. And those little pieces are just the right size for that. I still have some frozen pumpkin left in the freezer that I want to make sure that I'm using up. So I got a couple bags of those, and I was out of elbow macaroni, and so I grabbed 2 bags of those also. I also picked up 2 bags of red lentils. This is something that we are low in our pantry on, and so last time I got some brown lentils, this time I got some red lentils. Over the next couple months, I'll end up buying a larger, like 20-pound package of both of them. I've been trying to decide whether or not I want to get them in bulk from Azure Standard, or I can get the organic ones also from Amazon. But getting these 2 bags was just enough to put them in the pantry. I have found that when I have carrots in a dish, I'm able to sneak in the red lentils and my family doesn't notice as much. I got 2 loaves of the sourdough bread. We get this from Costco. It is almost the same price of getting 2 loaves at Costco as 1 loaf at the grocery store, but we like this brand and the spread, and we keep it in the freezer and we just pull out a couple slices at a time, so 2 loaves normally lasts us a couple months. Okay, and this is where I ended up over budget. I ended up with a couple splurge items, and I was not keeping track in my planner like I normally do when I'm at Costco. So normally every time I pick up something, I write that number down next to the item in the grocery list, and then I have my calculator going and I know exactly how much I spent. And since I had went into WinCo and didn't spend so much, I kind of wasn't paying as much attention at Costco. So I'm not complaining about the extra things I bought, but these were things that if I was worried about the budget, I could have put away really easily. So one of the items that I could have put back if I wanted to, if I was really concerned about being over budget, was these croissants that I bought. But I normally get those like once or twice a year, and I store them in the freezer and just pull out what I need. So I will take them out of the original container and then put them into Ziploc freezer bags and then go into the freezer, and that makes it a lot easier, and they'll last around 4 to 6 months in the freezer. Since I had bought grapes and celery this time, I thought it was a really great time to make some chicken salad sandwiches, and we normally love that on croissants. So that is what we're actually going to do for dinner tonight. So I don't have to cook after filming this. And then the rest are going to go into the freezer and we will be pulling them out. And one of the main reasons why I wanted to get them is we have some pandemic canned chicken from 2020 that was in our pantry. Now it has been past the best by date. The recommended for canned chicken is whatever that best by date is and 3 years past that. So I have about another year until I really need to use it all up, but I want to make sure that we're cycling it through meals. And kind of another splurge, again, if I was watching that tally go at the check stand and was worried about it, I could have just put this back really easily, but it was pretzels. I figured with so many family members that are going to be in and around, and especially this party, it wouldn't hurt to have a little bit of extra snacks. We really don't eat that many snacks here at the house, and if we do, they come from the refrigerator. So those dots were on sale. They were about $4 off. I can't remember the exact number, but I like to get them when they're under $10 for those large bags. And the biggest splurge I got, but they were also on sale and under $10, were these Annie's cinnamon rolls. So I was thinking this weekend with company coming into town, Easter morning, this would be great. And we can put one in the freezer and save for Mother's Day. Normally at Christmas time, I make our cinnamon rolls, but I don't want to make cinnamon rolls for Mother's Day. There's also a case of water out in the car that I forgot about. So we did get a large Costco case of water. Again, we have company coming into town and we just want to make sure that everybody has what they need. Even though we don't buy plastic bottles of water very often, it is nice to make sure that you have some backup water in the house. So overall, let's go over the budget again. My budget is $135 per person. So it's $270 a month based on just Mike and I living here at the house. But again, we're talking about a party, 2 people coming for 3 days, and then 1 person coming for 3 days right after that during this couple week period, and also Easter. If I was the one that was fully hosting this party this weekend and making sure that there was all the food that we needed for everybody, I probably would have made that another line item in my budget. But since I'm only providing a couple of the things, I was just able to make that work out in our budget. But normally, if it was a party that I was hosting, I would have a birthday party line in my budget and just buy things accordingly for that. When our kids are little and things were so much tighter for us, they either got a birthday party or a birthday present, and they could choose what way that they wanted to go. They would know what that budget was and how much we were able to spend. So we were able to make family decisions together as they were getting older into middle school and high school on how they wanted their birthdays to be celebrated. Okay, I have my meal planner here. This is where I keep track of all the ingredients that I'm buying. Normally I'm tallying as I'm at the store how much I'm spending and anything that I need to be using up and thinking about it. And I don't meal plan necessarily ahead of time. I'm focusing on ingredients, and then after I make meals, then I fill out the calendar and I remember what meals that we made. And so that way I'm not like stuck to a meal plan, but I still have those calendars for actually like 10 years now. And I can go back and look through the seasons on the meals that our family actually likes to eat, which having the same ingredients in your house at all times really helps you be able to look at something that your family likes and know that you already have the ingredients in the house that you can make pretty much anything. So it has been over 2 decades of us using a grocery budget like this. When we first started the grocery budget per person, it was $100 per person. And then around 2017 is when we were realizing that we had more allergies and sensitivities in the family. And so that's when I started really paying attention to the ingredients and the quality of ingredients I was bringing in. And I bumped it up to $135 per person. So we did have our own kids living at home. We were foster parents. Our grandma has lived with us. Our budget has changed throughout the seasons, throughout our lives, but I just base it on however many people are living in the house. Now that we live closer to our kids in this new house and new area, I just end up stretching out those ingredients and keeping the budget the same. So for the March grocery shopping trip, I went to WinCo first, and that was $57.42. And Costco is where I went over budget a little bit. And so my groceries that I spent at Costco was $250.78. So March's total with everything that I have purchased is $308.20. So that actually put me over budget a little bit of $38.20. But I keep a little bit of cushion in my account that is a carryover from the previous year. So I wasn't worried about like anything bouncing or my debit card not going through. There's that cushion in there from before that I kind of try to erase from my mind that it's in there. So I don't walk into the grocery store, check how much is in my debit account, and think, oh, I have $540 to spend in my account. I really try to stick as close as I can to that $270 or under. But for the last 2 months, I've actually been way under budget. So starting in January 2026, my carryover amount was $161.80 that I didn't spend in the months of January and February. So I was able to pull from that carryover amount. And now my 2026 carryover amount is $122.98. That money is probably going to get saved for a little bit here, and I'm probably going to end up doing an Azure standard bulk pantry order like pretty soon in the next couple months. And then I'm going to really be diligent about starting to save for the next meat purchase, which we just don't seem like we're going through it as fast because it's just Mike and I. We haven't even put our name down for the next meat purchase yet. So it's been exactly a year, a little bit over a year since we got the meat, and I don't think we're going to get it for another year and a half. That is giving me a little bit of time to make sure that I'm restocking some of those bulk items that we kind of used through as we were getting ready to move into our new house and the staging process. And I can get those supplies back up to the quantities I like to have in case there's an emergency. And I'm using the grocery budget to do that. And then we'll start saving for the meat purchase. I just really remember what it was like worrying about having groceries in our house and worrying if we could feed our kids or if we could make it until payday. And I see so many people all the time saying, oh, I have $40 and I need to make it until the end of the month. And asking what kind of meals that they can make without even thinking about the ingredients that you have in your house. So I just really encourage you to start thinking about things in your house as ingredients that you can use multiple ways and not be so focused on a meal plan all the time. All of my tips for being able to save produce so they're fresh the entire time until I go grocery shopping again are in my zero waste produce guide. This has 75 fruits and vegetables listed A to Z. And this is the reason that I ended up with a TED Talk is because I know all of these skills to be able to reduce your food waste. The average family is throwing away over 40% of the food that they're buying, and things in this book will help teach you how to keep them fresh longer. We also have this bundled with our grocery planner. This is how I'm able to keep track of everything that we're doing for groceries and to make sure that we have what we need. So our grocery planner and the book are in a bundle deal on our website, and there's also a discount code listed in the description. And there are a lot of people on social media that are trying to teach you how to wash your produce, but there's not very many people on social media that are showing you what that produce looks like 3 or 4 weeks after they went to the grocery store and what meals they're cooking with that old produce. If you're new here, welcome. I hope I gave you some tips and some encouragement to be able to tackle your grocery budget too. I answer every single question and comment that I see that comes through on YouTube. So if you have questions, if you're looking for a link, just let me know, and I check in at least 2 times every single day. And if you want to see what meals I'm making with all of these ingredients, we have a Meals and Moments series that comes out every 2 weeks. So you can see what the exact meals I'm serving even 3 and 4 weeks after I went to the grocery store, which I think is so important that you can really see the items are still fresh and they're being used. And if you're watching this on the day it was released, happy St. Patrick's Day.